program at the Roe Institute. It's nice to
Thanks.
see you all this morning. Yeah.
Thanks, Uchenna, and welcome. And Uchenna is going to be one of our presenters. Go ahead, MK.
Good morning, everyone. My name is MK Bryan. I'm the founder and CEO of EmpoweRx and also part of the current healthcare founder residency program at RU. Thanks for inviting me to be here. I'm excited to get connected with the organization.
Thank you. Anybody else new to the group or hasn't been here in a while?
I can introduce myself.
Great.
My name is Paru. I'm the Education Entrepreneurship Program Coordinator, and I work under Anna Ackerman.
Great. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Hi, my name is Abby of MTI. I am not new, but it's been a while I came here. So I work as an investment officer with MTI. Great to meet you all. Glad to be back.
Thanks, Abby. Good to see you here. Anybody else? Just looking around.
I can do a quick intro. Sorry. My name is Allison. Hi, everyone. I have the pleasure of working with Nina Schiefers at the Maine Venture Fund this summer. So Nina forwarded the invite to me, and also my classmate and colleague, Dan, who's also here today. So yeah, we're just eager to listen in and learn some new things. And thank you for sharing space with us.
Great. Thanks for being here, Allison. Dan, go ahead.
Yep, I'll follow up on that. Thanks, Allison. Yeah, really excited to be in Portland this summer and to be working with Allison and Nina. It's been a pleasure so far. Don't want the summer to end, but I'm not going to focus on that right now.
Great. Well, welcome, Dan. Last call if you'd like to make an introduction, and if not, I'll get into updates.
I'll jump in. My name's Caitlin Willett. I'm with Gorham Savings. I've participated before, but it's been a while. I help host our Launchpad pitch competition program.
Thanks, Caitlin. Welcome. Okay, well, I'm going to pivot over to give a few updates from MTI, and then Jake's going to give a few DCD updates, and then we'll get into the presentations. So just a few updates from MTI this month. One is, as folks might recall from last month, I kind of touched on this, but the final phase of the Prime funding launched yesterday. So for those who aren't aware, MTI, back when the American Rescue Plan Act was passed and Maine received a pool of funding, was asked to distribute around $40 million to businesses in Maine that had been affected by COVID in a variety of different ways. We've administered almost all of that funding, but there's still a smallish pool of around $7 million left that we're administering as our final phase. We're calling it Prime Phase 2. The applications went live yesterday, and they'll be open, I believe, till August 24th, I believe. And to be eligible, businesses must demonstrate that they were adversely impacted by the pandemic or incurred significant delays in expansions or growth programs due to the pandemic. So generally, a business would need to demonstrate either that it existed during COVID or that its launch was in some way impaired by the pandemic. But there's a lot more information on the website. I'm not going to go through it all, but I'll post that link in the chat. It'll also be in the notes document, but definitely something to be aware of. There's a scoring rubric that I spoke about a bit last month, but there's definitely a preference being given to businesses who haven't received MTI support in the past and haven't received Prime funding in the past. But it's not a disqualifier. It's a competitive process. So one of the things weighing in the business's favor is if they're receiving this funding for the first time. But definitely encourage folks to share it with their networks and just make folks aware that that funding is available. And like I said, I'll post all the information. There's an FAQ. There's some Zoom sessions that'll be going live. Where there's you can hop on and actually ask questions to the folks administering this program. But yeah, just something to be aware of. So the next piece of news is a little unfortunate, which is, as folks might recall, Maine, and MTI was one of the leads on this, was invited to apply by the federal government to become a forest byproducts advanced manufacturing tech hub. And that was an opportunity to receive between $50 to $75 million. It was a very competitive process. Only around 15% of the applicants across the country received funding. There's only 12 out of, I think it was close to 80 applicants. And unfortunately, Maine did not receive funding. It does seem like we'll likely get an additional 500,000 or so to complete some of the planning work. But 500,000 compared to 50 or to 75 million is obviously a much smaller amount. So that was disappointing. But definitely going to try to continue carrying some of that work forward and explore how we can continue doing some of that work, even though Maine didn't receive that funding from the federal government. Oh, yes. And sorry, good clarification, Renee. So Renee noted that we were a designated tech hub, and we still are. We just didn't receive the federal funding. Thanks for the clarification. And then the last thing I'll just note is that MTI is about to celebrate our 25th anniversary. As of October 29th, there'll be a big shindig taking place. I believe it's going to be at Ocean Gateway in Portland. Oh, actually, no, I'm looking now. It's actually at the USM Abraham Center in Portland. So I'll post more information for that, but definitely if you're in the Portland area on October 29th, we'd love to see you there. And that's all from MTI. So I will pass it over to Jake at DECD.
Well, thanks, Tom. DECD has been spending a lot of time working on getting the application scored for the Business Recovery and Resilience Fund. That was for businesses impacted by the disaster declaration storms from December and January. I think we're still on target, hoping to get award letters out and the money kind of dispersed early in August. So keep a lookout for that. I also just wanted to highlight that the Pine Tree Development Zone program is sunsetting at the end of this year. This offers businesses the chance to reduce state taxes for up to 10 years when they create new and quality jobs. That program is being replaced by the Dirigo program, the Dirigo Business Incentive Program, which offers a 10% capital investment credit and also a $2,000 per worker trained credit. So I'm going to drop information in the link, but just as we start winding down, again, Pine Tree is going to close at the end of this year. Dirigo starts next year, but it's already accepting applications. So if you're interested in either of those, now's the time to start asking questions before you lose the opportunity for Pine Tree. You can only do one at the same time. So that's it for me. Like I said, I'll drop some information in the chat.
Great. Awesome. Thanks so much, Jake. So we're going to do a couple quick announcements from some partners, hopefully very quick. So one from Jonathan Poole at Fame and one from Caitlin at Gorham Savings Bank, and then we'll go over to the announcements. So Jonathan, go ahead and give us a quick update on the Maine Funding Network.
Yeah, real quick, the Maine Funding Network is turning 3 months old in a couple days. And so far, several hundred businesses have come through and been matched with all of our 15 providers. And several dozen loan applications are underway as part of the system. And we look forward to bringing on between 5 to 10 new members in the next quarter in terms of providers, ranging from new equity partners to new lenders to new advisors. So look forward to the network growing, continue to explore and engage as needed. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Quick question. Can you just give a very quick overview of what the Maine Funding Network is for folks who might not have heard of it before?
Yeah, the Maine Funding Network is your one-stop shop for public, nonprofit, and non-traditional funding sources from Maine and around the country that are looking to do business in Maine. And so currently there are 15 members. And the way it works is you go in, submit a match request with basic information and see a list of match providers. And if they happen to be a lender, you're able to be officially matched with the provider and fill out a common loan application from there. I just did a horrible job explaining it, but I'll drop the link in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin, Gorham Savings Bank. We just opened the application to our Launchpad program, which hopefully all of you are familiar with, but if not, it is our small business pitch competition. Any Maine-based entrepreneur is welcome to apply. It's open statewide. The deadline to submit is Thursday, August 15th at 5 p.m. I will put the link to our website in the chat. But yeah, the application's open. It's simple. It's straightforward. You can create a Launchpad account to get started on a draft and be working on it over the next several weeks. After the deadline closes, our judges will review all of the submissions and ultimately be selecting 5 finalists to pitch live at our event in October. It's the 22nd, so I'm glad to hear it doesn't conflict with MTI that week. So 5 businesses will pitch live on the 22nd at UNE's Innovation Hall here in Portland. And we'll award one winner our $50,000 Launchpad grant. We also have an Emerging Business Award. That's a $10,000 grant that comes with $10,000 of in-kind business and marketing services. So we'll select 5 finalists to compete for that prize as well. That's a video pitch. The videos will be shown at the live event, and the winner of the Emerging Business Award will be announced that evening as well. So we hope that you'll apply yourselves or help us spread the word to make sure entrepreneurs in the state have the opportunity to consider applying for Launchpad. If you have any questions, I'm Caitlin Willett with Quorum Savings, and I will put the link to our website in the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Caitlin. Well, great. Well, let's turn it over to our first presenter today, who is MK. MK, you'll have 5 minutes or so to present. I'll put up a timer that should be displaying on my screen, and then we'll do about 5 minutes of Q&A. If folks want to kind of think about some questions they might have for MK as she's going, that's always appreciated. And I'll turn it over to you, MK.
And Tom, can I share my screen?
Yes. Let me make sure you could do that. Just give me one moment.
Sure.
Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay, great.
That is showing up. It's not in present. There we go. Good to go.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Tom. So good morning again, everyone. So at EmpoweRx, we are building a healthcare workforce marketplace created to reduce contract labor for hospitals while empowering healthcare professionals in small business ownership. So looking at the problem that we're solving, contract labor costs are skyrocketing, increased staff turnover it's unprecedented, 50% increase in just the last year. And most importantly, our healthcare workforce is leaving bedside positions in droves. And so not only are they retiring, but actually our young generation, so over 24% of 800,000 that are looking to leave are actually young generation nurses. So this is quite concerning, and it's impacting everyone. And I'm sure you all have a story from the last few years that this somehow impacted you or your family. So taking a look at the problem in a little bit of a deeper snapshot, it's really helpful to understand the existing system in healthcare staffing, specifically focused on temporary or contract staffing. So when you look at that current system, you have at least 4 middle entities that are between the hospital and the healthcare provider, and they take a huge chunk of what's called a bill rate, which is that hourly rate that's billed to the hospital through the third-party agency. And that, of course, inflates costs and decreases in efficiency, as I mentioned in the problem slide. So our solution is to reduce the contract labor costs, increase efficiency, and then provide modern options for today's workforce. And we do that in a couple different ways. Twofold for reducing the cost is we're eliminating multiple middle entities so that hospitals can go directly to our small business healthcare professionals. And then we also have a very disruptive payment model that doesn't attach to billable hours. Looking at modernizing options for today's workforce, as you can see from the stats on the screen, many of our healthcare professionals, specifically our millennial and Gen Z generation, our younger generation, are looking for new ways to work that are really focused on entrepreneurship, and they're really frustrated with the current options that they have. And then obviously using technology to automate workflows and save time so that there's efficiency. So what does that look like? So we have our marketplace, and what really sets our marketplace apart is a couple different features. First and foremost is our revolutionary clinician entrepreneurship program. So we have customized entrepreneurial education that's focused on healthcare professionals, specifically nursing and allied healthcare professionals, that teaches them how to become an owner-operator small business so they can function as a staffing vendor on our marketplace platform. And it takes them from step one of creating the right entity, understanding a tax strategy, as well as how to transition from a W-2 mindset to an entrepreneur mindset. So it's an extremely robust and effective educational platform. And then our marketplace is going to tie the two together. So by using technology, our healthcare professionals can function as vendors, and then the marketplace takes care of all of the workflow to connect the two parties. So managing credentials, offering transparency with negotiations for bill rates, pre-recorded video interviews, all kinds of templates and support to help with the contract management, timekeeping, invoicing, payment distribution, and direct messaging within the platform to cut down on time with emails and different things like that for the unit managers at the hospital and our healthcare professionals. I mentioned that one of the most disruptive things we're doing in this space is our revenue model. So kind of looking at that piece with the contract labor cost, we are not attaching to billable hours, so it allows the hospital to be able to decrease bill rates. And then we offer flat, transparent fee structures. So based on usage for healthcare organizations, and then it's a monthly SaaS subscription model for healthcare professionals to access all of our educational content as well as the operational pieces of the marketplace. We have a third revenue stream that's just beneficial, obviously, from a business perspective, which is affiliate commission and ad revenue. And this is really tied into being a robust partner for our healthcare professionals and hospitals so that we can offer value-added services and then make some small commissions off that helps with operations costs. And then just a little bit about our team. I think I'm out of time, if that was what that said.
Yes, but you can keep going. I started the Q&A timer, so we'll just have slightly shorter question period, but feel free to finish off. Yeah, just really quick about the team. So myself, obviously the founder and CEO, and we have our director of operations. So we're actually a family operated and owned team. And I'm very excited that we've recently decided to have a headquarters in Maine. So we'll be a Maine-based business with partnership with Rue and all of those wonderful folks in Maine. So we're really excited about that piece of our new journey. And then we've built an amazing advisor team through the Rue program that's helping us as we go towards our MVP of our tech platform, scaling our model into larger healthcare systems and building a really solid marketing plan. So I'll just kind of keep that part brief and open to any questions. Thank you. Great, thanks so much. Any questions for MK? Trying to make sure I can see everyone. Well, folks are thinking, I guess, MK, I'd be curious to hear, what sort of support are you in need of, both from this group and kind of what are the next steps for the organization?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Tom. So yeah, we are we're about 4 weeks away from the MVP of our proprietary platform. We're in market with a white label for proof of concept so we could, get revenue and gain data. And so I would say that's a really big milestone that we're approaching as far as an organization, and obviously transitioning over to Maine in the upcoming months full time to embed with those partners. There's some big things on the horizon for us. And as far as support and what we're looking for, we'd love to be able to network with folks that have experience with change management, specifically in healthcare, really interested in building out like a change management roadmap for implementation as we look to approach larger healthcare systems. And that's a really unique and amazing skill. So I'd love to talk with mentors that have experience with that, or we're always looking for funding right now. So we just got our first grant through NTI, which is super awesome, and excited about that partnership. But we are looking for some additional funding so that we can look ahead for the software build with our V1 and AI implementation. And then I'd say the third thing that we're super focused on is introductions to healthcare organizations in Maine outside of Maine Health and Northern Lights. We have 9 independent hospitals there. So if there's anyone that's connected with any folks that know them and have access to them, we would certainly welcome any introductions.
Great. Any other questions for MK? We have about a little over a minute left if there's any other questions. And feel free to just take yourself off mute because I can't see everybody's screen all at once. Well, I guess one other question I had is just how did you end up in this line of work? What inspired you to start this business?
Yeah, so actually I went back to school to pursue a nursing degree. I had always wanted to do that, and you know those professional crossroads that we have. So that was back in like 2015, and I started working as a travel nurse recruiter during my prerequisite period to get into nursing school, and found that there was a lot of things in that system that I think could be done better, that would focus on empowering healthcare professionals, because the current system really treats them as kind of a commodity and they don't feel like it values them. And I was like, well, that needs to change, because we certainly need our nurses and our allied healthcare professionals to feel the love, right? Because we need them in our community. And so that's really what inspired the journey.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for presenting. And if you want to post your contact info in the chat, and then if folks have any of those connections that you mentioned, hopefully they'll reach out.
Okay, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again. Awesome. Well, we're on to our next presenter, which is Fhiwa. Fhiwa, take it away.
Awesome. Hey, I'm going to also share slides, so I'm just going to do that right now. And hi, everyone. Just briefly, as I do that, my name is Fhiwa. I think I know a lot of you. My background is in technology, but I also, I'm on the board of Startup Maine, and I'm familiar with MTI. I used to work at Mass Challenge back in the day, and super excited to pitch. All right, here we go. I'm sure this is like, I use both Teams and Zoom, so I constantly go back and forth between trying to understand how to use it. Sweet. Okay. So let me just do this. Can you see?
Yes.
Awesome. Excellent. So I've been working on this for a while. I just want to say that thank you for letting me be here. I started a nonprofit. It's called Blueprint Maine. And I came here to MTI because I realized over time that there are technology components here. And I believe there's huge potential for this to grow in Maine. But I'll tell you more about this program that I've designed and developed to help teens, namely immigrant teens, develop the skills to become leaders in their community using entrepreneurship as a vehicle. Last year, I identified a problem. I was living in South Portland, and I started to volunteer my time as a advisor to the Black Student Union. And over the course of my time doing that work, I recognized that not only were these immigrant students living in our communities behind in English learning and math, et cetera, but also I recognized a healthcare problem, which is that these students were struggling to feel a greater sense of belonging in their community, or any sense of belonging. And that meant that they were typically missing more days of school, their grades were slipping, and they weren't involved with activities outside of school to keep them connected. And so I started to dig, and I noticed some interesting data which showed that over 50% of students in this particular school district in South Portland did not feel a greater sense of belonging. And I started to do some more research where I found that this problem isn't obviously just a problem we experience in Maine, but it's a problem we experience all across the country, which leads to negative outcomes for these students. But I am optimistic, perhaps erroneously optimistic, and I have experience working with students. And so I realized that something that I knew, which was how to teach entrepreneurship, might provide a pathway for lots of students to get out of these potentially negative outcomes. I did notice too, though, that I wanted to get a better understanding of the landscape. I know this is a 40 slide, but it's important to recognize that the conditions of COVID, and mentioned earlier, the American Rescue Plan, has made it actually more difficult to support these students because there are fewer programs to support them. So in spite of the fact that there are lots of nonprofits in Maine,
I just talked to Lisa.
Sorry, would you mind putting on the mute there? Sweet. So I noticed that there are problems exacerbated by COVID-19 and with American Rescue Plan funds being finished after this year, I needed to think of a creative solution to help out at scale. This is a big problem when you have poor health for students and you have lost productivity, increased crime. Oftentimes we call it the school to prison pipeline, and we're trying to curb exactly that, but starting here in Maine. And so I developed a program that I know I'm reading from the slide here, but it helps Black immigrant teens develop leadership and entrepreneurial skills, providing a youth-led outlet to cultivate community and foster a greater sense of belonging. I realized that there are a few key components to making this work. I'm not going to read from here, but the first is design a program that's youth-led. By giving teenagers, by the time they turn 12 or 13 years old, permission to actually lead, what I discovered was they came up with creative ideas on how to contribute to building their community. And all I had to do was figure out how to educate them on how to do it and mentor them through the process. Making it free and entirely accessible was an important component of this to make sure that the right students were getting into the program through important selection criteria. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, there's a lot of research that's been done that shows that if a student sees a role model, someone who looks like them, who's working on similar problems, then they're much more likely to succeed. Right now, I think most of us know that in schools, it's a depleted system. And so there are fewer and fewer teachers. And that also means that typically most of the teachers don't look like the students. But by introducing more mentors in our pretty amazing community of immigrants across all of Maine, not least Lewiston, but also greater Portland area, I realized that by connecting with the high school Black Student Union programs and with other entrepreneurs from across Maine's ecosystem who are immigrants from places like Somalia, Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, and more, these students were more inspired to work more hard and improve their grades and other outcomes in school. I spent a lot of time comparing my program to others to see if I would differentiate, and I realized that there were a few key components, those I mentioned before, youth-led, and most importantly, real-time feedback and data insights that would make this program really viable for seeing positive outcomes for students. I know I don't have a ton of time, so I just want to say this, which is that over the course of the past year, I've done a lot of work. People like photos. By far, the most important thing with any business like this is the people. And by identifying really, really committed mentors or people who are willing to give their time to help these students, we've seen like tremendous gains in terms of what we can offer that schools can't otherwise offer. I got this amazing quote from a business owner who said that really ultimately this is something that's achievable. It seems lofty, but it's not too hard. I'll say this, just to ask at the end, this is what we're asking for. We're running a program this year with more students. We want to get better at measuring outcomes, and that's why I'm here at MTI to learn more about how to measure our data effectively. And we're looking for future space next year. That's it. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Fee. Any questions?
Yes, I would like to know, Fhiwa, you have a help that is to contribute 50K. I would like to know, what is your plan for sustainability? This is a great project you are doing. So currently, what are your sources of funding and what's the plan for sustainability?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we are a nonprofit. So of course, you know, we're not planning on making any money from this, but early on, I recognized that it would make sense to diversify. So first, we're actively applying for grants. So grants, both at the federal level and also at the philanthropic level. Also on top of that, we have a pretty exciting strategy here, which is effectively being really community driven. I know a few people have gone to some of our events. We've been able to raise over $5,000 just from 2 community events. And those aren't just like any events, just like fundraisers, but what they do is they take the work that students are doing and they shine a spotlight on that work. That work in the future will contribute to helping the community, right? Whether it's supporting businesses or otherwise. And so raising money that way. And lastly, we think that it's really important to continue to drive donations from people who contribute to the organization, almost similar to like a members model. So we're continuing to build contacts and connections. We use like Airtable, and I come from a background of marketing, just finding supporters who are local to support their local community by giving regular donations to the organization.
Okay, good. One follow-up question. Do you have any success stories, like any impacts so far? How long have you been running this?
Yeah, so I like to say that with entrepreneurship, sometimes it opens up new doors that you don't think about. One of them is that I had a student who was interested in film, and this is all about connections. So if you can connect a student to something or a team to something that inspires them, then it's pretty amazing that you can figure out what you can get. In September, we are doing a film screening at both the Portland Museum of Art and at Bowdoin College. There's a documentary film called Bobi Wine, the People's President, where the topic of the film is really about youth protest in East Africa. I wanted to bring more content that is relevant to these students to Maine. And so I contacted Bowdoin and I contacted the Portland Museum of Art, and they were happy to lend funds for like lectures and concert series and stuff to do this. And there's also going to be a workshop by the filmmaker with students. So it just was one idea, a student interested in film, and then we took it and are being able to bring new opportunities to Maine that way.
Great, thanks, Pete. Owen, go ahead.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Fhiwa. This is really exciting. Let's say you're wildly successful, which you likely will be. How do you imagine reaching more places? Are you going to run your own programs other places, or are you going to build like a toolkit or toolbox that like allow people to pick up and do what you're doing? Or are you still sorting through that?
It's a great question. So I'm going to do this really quickly. I'm just going to show you these slides. This is a community-based program, right? And so just starting with 25 kids is awesome and it's super cool. I think it's really good to start small. But the idea is that we are impacting the community at a really huge level by choosing high potential students that impact their peers, families, etc. But the idea is this could expand. I also have a advisor. His name's Paul Epstein from the Brookline Teen Center down in Boston. He, over 12 years ago, he's the brother of Theo Epstein. He basically started this teen center that is sustainable. It does over $5 million in revenue a year. And we want to build teen centers. I have no illusions about the fact that that's kind of crazy, but that's what we want to do, is build more teen centers in different cities that need it.
Awesome. Jennifer, I see you have a question. Maybe you could post it in the chat and then Fhiwa can answer there. Just I want to be conscious of time for the other presenters. And Fhiwa, I don't know if you saw, but Joan posted in the chat that she'd love to donate Slick Picks, which is a tool she ran. So I'll let you guys communicate about that as well. And also, thank you
cool.
for presenting.
Thank you. Appreciate it a lot. No problem.
Great. Well, on to Owen at MedRhythms.
Sorry.
Thanks, Tom. Sorry to dominate, I guess, the conversation with the question in here. Owen McCarthy, co-founder, president of MedRhythms. I'm originally from Northern Maine, from Patten, Maine. Proud UMaine Black Bear, couple-time entrepreneur. Started a 3D printing of electronics company prior to this. And before I jump into the story of MedRhythms, I'm excited to just look at the screen here, because we started a company in Boston for 6 months. We decided to move to Maine to follow. Actually, my first meeting was Josh Corbu to find space at Cloudport. We came directly to Cloudport, and I think we've taken advantage of and used and worked through all of the programs that Maine has to offer, from UMaine's entrepreneurship students to FAME to MTI to MVF. So really grateful for everything the community's done for us. MedRhythms, I'll tell you how we started. So my co-founder, Bryan Harris, was a clinician at Spalding Rehab in Boston. And he's trained as what they call a neurologic music therapist, which is a very niche field. There's only 2,000 people trained like him in the world, which uses how rhythm and music can help people recover things like their walking. And he was getting great results manually. Like, he'd be in the hospital using a guitar, watching someone walk, and using the neuroscience of how you could sync someone to that and improve the walking, getting great results. But people would leave the hospital and say, well, Bryan, how do I get this when I leave the hospital? And the answer was you couldn't. And so we really started MedRhythms around that question of, well, how do you take what Bryan was doing and reach more people? Our answer was, we'll put him in a box, right? So we built an algorithm that replicates his brain. We built sensors that measure walking in real time. We have a handheld device and a set of headphones. And now we can ship this out to someone's home to be used as part of their rehab journey. And so to date, earlier this year, we actually launched our In Tandem product, InTandemRx.com, for people that have stroke walking deficits, that helps them improve their walking speed and quality. That is prescribed by a doctor. So, business model is prescribed by a doctor, used by a person at home, and paid for by a third-party payer. We are getting really good results there, though the payer equation takes some time to get really consistent and uptake there. And so that's where, the question earlier, where people need help, if anyone knows payers, like, send them our way. We have a team of about 40+ people based here in the Old Port, right above Bard Coffee. We've raised something like 55 million in venture funding for the organization. We are not just focused on stroke. We have products in Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and otherwise going forward. And we're proud to be here and to be building the company from here. We also, if I tell you more about how the product experience works, so you can have a sense of that, you can use the sensors, you put them on your feet, you measure the walking in real time, feeds into a handheld device. We look for someone's walking symmetry and variability and how synced they are to the music, which is core to the science. You can use a rhythm to sync someone's movement. We bring in any music, like we have a partnership with Universal Music Group. So we have 50% of the world's music that we can screen in and modify in real time, almost like a healthcare DJ, so we can change it to deliver the intervention. And then we put them on these plans that they do. They're walking 3 times a week for 30 minutes in month chunks in stroke until they reach a new walking speed and quality. We've run 6 clinical trials. All of them have been successful on the platform, and are excited to continue to build it from right here in Portland. So I think I only used 4 minutes of time, but I'm happy to answer any questions that people have, and I'll drop my contact information in the chat now.
Awesome, thanks, Owen. Any questions for Owen? Well, folks are thinking, I'm curious, is there any particular genre or style of music that's been proven to be like particularly effective, or is it, as long as it has a good rhythm, it works?
That's a good question, Tom. I mean, if the rhythm is the most important, because in your brain, when you hear a strong rhythm, it syncs the auditory and motor system, which is around some of the damaged parts of the brain. And so that's important. It's also important because we walk with 2 feet, that it's in like a normal time signature, like 2/4 and 4/4 time. If it's like a waltz or anything like that, it's really hard to walk repetitively to that. If a lot of songs recorded have a lot of variance within them, if it has variance within the song, it's difficult to use because it's hard to get that auditory motor entrainment. So with all that, to answer your question, most genres of music work, except for maybe jazz and classical, often are really hard. And then it really becomes like designing for the preference of the user. And even to drill down there, we found for people that have suffered a stroke or are living post-stroke, we did a lot of user-centered design. We thought, some generations like this, like Spotify, like let's pick what you want kind of experience. This group said, give me radio stations in some genres, and from there, I want you to pick the content that comes through. And so that's how it's experienced, so that you can pick different genres of music from there.
Other questions? Well, I guess one other I had is just kind of what are next steps for the business? Where do you see yourself going from here?
Yeah, so as I was hinting at, we're in the middle of, we're commercializing, getting really good feedback from the doctors, really good feedback from the patients, adherence is really high. And then the payers, often with new technology, it just takes time to work through their processes. And so if we can unlock that and do that, then we can get to real scale in revenues and real scale in commercial models over the next 12 to 18 months. And then you could imagine, that both drives like hiring people, that drives, more R&D activity, that drives future products that we're going to bring through. We have a Parkinson's product that's close. We have a MS product that's close, all built on the same technology. And so you could see that happening. And then you could imagine thinking about these people that have suffered a stroke or living with Parkinson's, like there's other types of things that you can treat with similar types of interventions that we haven't done full R&D, but we have some IP on that we could bring into market to follow. But I think as we've gotten along and grown as a company, it's ironic that, it might not be ironic to any of you, but we have more and more focused on like the one thing that we need to do really well to unlock all the value, right? So right now it's like drive the payer adoption you know, if I were to not do anything else in the next 12 months, that, you know, that one thing would make all the difference.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Owen. I saw you posted your info in the chat. So if folks have any other questions, just reach out that way.
Appreciate it, Tom. It's good to see everyone. Thanks for hosting this.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Well, our last presenter is Uchenna. Uchenna, go ahead.
Thank you, Tom. Let me share my screen. Hey, sorry about that. So hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you all. So Health for Mankind. So we are leveraging AI to help minorities and underserved population manage diabetes. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, not a lot of minorities in Maine. But when you talk about underserved population, you're talking about elderly and rural. And Maine checks those boxes. Maine has large population of actually one of the most rural states and also high percentage of elderly population. So if you look at the rate of diabetes, only about 30% of non-Hispanic white, compared to 77% of African American, about 66% of Latinos. And I wanted to drill the data down to Maine. So approximately over almost 110,000 individuals in Maine has diabetes, and the state spends over almost $2 billion. So these are the highest counties with high incidence, higher than the state's average. And if you look at them, most of them are not even within the Cumberland County, which will be in Portland and Lewiston, which would have been the Androscoggin County. So the disparity in diabetes management is that every 3.5 minutes, someone's leg is amputated due to diabetes. That risk is 4 times, when I say 4 times higher among African Americans. And that is completely unacceptable, considering that for a very rich country like the richest country in the world, like the US, that a lot of African Americans have this condition. And this is all attributed to the challenges they face accessing care, from access to care, language barrier, cultural and dietary factors, and socioeconomic challenges. A couple of weeks ago, I had my aunt came by and mentioned that she was diabetic but couldn't buy some medication due to the fact that she couldn't afford it. So this is one of the few challenges both minorities and the South population do face when it comes to managing diabetes. And that is why we introduced Diabemetrics. Diabemetrics is a patent-pending algorithm that helps minorities to manage their care well. It integrates culture, human touch, enriching that data with social determinants of health. That's where individuals, where they are born, where they live, and how this affects their overall management of diabetes. So typically, this is we have the app and we have this dongle. The dongle is a very cost-effective way, and we're also integrating with CGMs. That's the patch you wear on your hand. That's only still about 6.3% utilization. So this is a team, first of all, background-wise, I'm an internationally trained physician, came here for graduate school. I studied health outcomes and epidemiology. And we do have a strong team, a machine learning expert, an endocrinologist on our team. And we put together this platform. A shout out to the Rego Lab on the call. They were very instrumental for bringing us on board. And also want to shout out to MTI for helping us provide some funding, grant funding. We are currently part of the Rural Institute program, and we are scaling our business operation. So the size of diabetes is huge. It's over 400 billion, but specifically minorities is about 115 billion. So our revenue structure is B2B then to C. So we're going direct to consumers, providing not only remote patient monitoring, but also we can provide a dashboard for physicians to manage their patient. So we are partnering with some area organizations, big health systems in Maine, and looking for smaller partnership among community health centers where most of these individuals seek their help. This is a competitive analysis. We stand out. Our mantra is cost effectiveness and deep personalization. And some of these are well-funded companies with hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Thank you so much. I hope you can learn a little bit more about our platform. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Uchenna. Any questions? And it's great to see that you've taken advantage of both Derigo Labs and the RU and MTI, obviously. So great to see you're leaning on so many of the different options available in Maine. Any questions for Uchenna?
Uchenna, have you conducted customer discovery? You might have mentioned it, but probably I missed it.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. We even did it before we launched our program because we wanted to see what are the pain points that we can solve for these individuals. So we did a customer discovery using 30 individuals, and I would have shown some of their quotes. Many of them, I would say 28. We're very, very optimistic of our solutions, and we did tested our platform using those individuals. So it was quite overwhelming. We know that we use the deep personalization where we understand the culture of the person, language barrier, and also incorporating access, social determinants of health, and we were able to provide not only reduction in A1C, but also help save costs for them. Yeah.
Great. Other questions? Well, how can this group help you, Uchenna? Is there anything you're looking for in terms of support or additional support?
Sure. Additional support will be more connections towards community health centers, because this is where most of these minorities and underserved population will seek their help. While we partner with the larger institutions, but those ground root health systems, our health organizations are very important. Secondly, as a startup, we continue to look for funding so as to move our project forward. So we are very optimistic. Some of the conversations that are ongoing, and even within some health systems in Maine, and those will be what we would need. So the RU has been able to provide most of the technical support and resources we need. And also, I forgot to mention Cindy, also the TAP program helping us with our SBIR grant. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, if you want to post your information in the chat, the folks can follow up with more questions.
Sure, great. I'll do that. Thank you so much, Tom. Yeah.
Great. So we have about 5 minutes left. Does anybody have any announcements for the community that they want to share? Any upcoming programs or events or anything of that nature that folks wanted to share with the group? Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, hi. So my name is Joan, and many of you already know me. We have a technology called SlickPix. We are now, we've been included in BuildSpace, which is funded by Y Combinator, and we're heading out to San Francisco beginning of next month. Technology is interactive images, so you can create an interactive image. We have a mini studio that we're going to be launching out in San Francisco with this, and then eventually next month, it should be on WordPress as well. So if any of you guys have a chance, I put it in the chat. It's interactivity.studio. And there's a survey on that after you go through it. If you want to give us your feedback on the user experience, that would be amazing. So thanks for helping us grow.
Great, thanks. Go ahead, Cindy.
I'm Cindy Talbot. I'm a grant writer, and I'm also part of the technical assistance program team at MTI. Most of you guys know me. I just wanted to mention that the annual USDA SBIR solicitation is out, and the due date is September 17th. Karen West and Suzanne and I scheduled a webinar, and didn't get a lot of people signing up, so we're meeting with the two companies individually. But if any of you know companies who might be looking for R&D funding, USDA only comes around once a year. Last year we had, I think, 7 companies apply from Maine, and 4 of them got funded, so we had a great funding rate. So look into that, and you can contact me or anybody else on the TAP team if they are looking for some help applying for that.
Thanks, Cindy. Any last announcements? Well, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming this month. Let you go with a few minutes to spare. As a reminder, we won't have MxG in August, but we will have it in September. But I'll share the recording and the notes document in an email probably next week. So everybody have a great rest of your summer, and see you in September.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Take care all.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.